Hey guys, it's Elena. In my last video, I did a tutorial showing how to make a digital art triptych in Procreate. And in that video, I used my alcohol ink brush set. And after that, many of you requested more triptych videos using different styles and different brushes. So I've decided to make this into a series. And today I will be using my Galaxy brush set to make 3 panels of Galaxy themed artwork. And these panels will not only work together cohesively, but they will also be standalone pieces of art in their own right. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is what I did previously for my triptych with alcohol ink. So I had created the whole piece of artwork, as you can see here, on top of 3 panels. So I created them all in the same layer. So this time I wanted to work with my Galaxy brushes. So in my previous triptych video, I already went into a lot of detail about how to set up the canvas. So I'm not going to do that in super much detail here. If you want a really detailed version of that, you can go back to the previous video and the link for that is in the description. So I'll just quickly go through the process here. I'm adding a new canvas and that's in inches. 26 by 12 inches at 300 dpi. And I am going to the wrench icon, turning on the drawing guide and editing the drawing guide. Over where it says grid size, I'm changing the grid to 1 inch so that we've got 1 inch squares and clicking done on that. And the color palette that I will be using is the Pastel Galaxy color palette that comes with the Galaxy brush set, and the purchase link for that is in the description. You are, of course, welcome to use any other brushes that you want to use as well. So I wanted to, before setting up my panels, I wanted to choose a background color. So I'm going to go with this dark purple, but I wanted to make it darker so that it's very subtle purple color, but mostly just looks black. So I'm going over to my value tab and I'm just going to take that B slider darker. So this means we're just getting a darker version of that purple, which is just going to look a little bit like a dark sky, but with a purple tint. So now I'm going over to my ribbon tool and I've got color fill on, which means our panels are going to be coming out in that color. And I'm just going to count 8 squares. So now I've got my 8 squares. I'm letting up on that and we have kind of a dark looking panel here. So I'm turning that off and I'm just going to go ahead and turn off the drawing guide as well since we don't need that. And then going into my layers, I'm just going to duplicate that 3 times and rename them. And I'm going to move my panels over with the arrow tool with snapping turned on and sliding that over. And doing the same with panel 2. Just moving that over so that now we've got 3 evenly spaced panels and we can see that there's some white space in between them. I'm just going to add a layer and that's going to be my artwork layer. So I'm going to start out with my Galaxy Dynamic folder, and both the dynamic and the stamps are included in the brush set. But I'm going to start out with the Galaxy Dynamic and going to choose one of the Nebula brushes. So I'm going to go with number 6, Nebula 6 CB, which means color variation. And I'm going to go with a pink color to begin with, and I'm going to get some different variations of that color close to it in the color wheel. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this here and there all over all 3 panels. And I'm working in the artwork layer, not in the panel layer. So these will all remain just a plain panel. So I'm just having a look now that I've added a little bit of background using my Nebula 6 color variation. And I'm really enjoying the texture and the sort of layeredness of this. And I feel like it's cohesive across all the panels. So I'm just going to work a bit now with the light dust cloud brush, and I'll go with a couple different colors at this, but I'll start out with this kind of bright yellow and just add a little bit of clouding. And I am in the same artwork layer. So I don't want to cover up too much of this nice texture, so I'm just going to switch colors now. And I'm going to go with this light blue and add just a little bit more of this dust cloud in light blue, just to have a bit of that blue peeking in. I'm trying to keep this concentrated in specific areas instead of just going absolutely everywhere with it. So some of these areas are feeling very empty and not exactly like space. So I'm going to look for a brush that can fill that, but not super obviously. I'm going to go with Stardust number 3 because I want it to be really subtle. And I've got kind of a beigey gold color here that I'm going to go with. And I'm just going to make it rather big and just kind of put some stars in these really dark areas. But not too much. Now in that same beige type color, I'm just going to add some single stars. So I'm going to the stamps. These also come with the Galaxy brush set. The link is in the description. And I'm just going to go with Starburst and add a couple of single big stars here. And I will add that in a new layer because it's getting a bit dense in that artwork layer. So I'm just going to name that single stars. So the reason I added a new layer is because this will not interact with what's already in this layer now. It will stand out on its own without becoming too white looking. So I'm kind of looking for where everything is looking kind of concentrated and adding a starburst on those areas. And this is pressure sensitive, so when it is smaller like that, that's because I'm not pushing hard. I can make it really big if I want by pushing really hard. I'm not going to do that. This is honestly a bit much right here. I'm just going to erase using the airbrush medium. Just going to erase some of this because I feel like it's too much. And because I put this in a separate layer, I'm able to do that. Okay, so back to the Galaxy stamps. I'm just going to go with single star number 1 and make some very small single stars in that same color. So because I had this blue color in some of this nebula, I just wanted to kind of finish this off with a blue planet. So I'm going to go with this bright blue color again. And here in the stamps, I'm just going to go to this one here. I'm just going to also add that in a new layer. That's a new layer above everything else, and then I can move it around if I want to. And I wanted to have it kind of spanning 2 different panels. So I'm going to see how it turns out if I add a big one right here. Let's just make it so that it's not going off the edge. And then move it up to the very top without going off the edge. So this will, of course, be cut off on the panels, and then you'll see half of it on each side. And I feel like we could use something else right here. Maybe a pink spiral galaxy. Let's go back to our peachy color. Got a bit bigger. I think that might be kind of interesting as well, because that'll just be cut off mainly in the middle there, but we'll have some bits here and some bits here. And I'm just going to experiment with putting it below some of this and see how that changes. So this is what I've got on my panels. And I'm going to go ahead and separate them into separate items like I did in my previous video. So in order to separate these into 3 panels, I'm going to gallery and duplicating that 3 times. So now I've got my original, which I will just keep here, and then these other ones I will separate into 3 panels. So I'm going to go on the first one here, and I will go to crop and resize under wrench icon, canvas, crop and resize. And under settings, I'm going to make that 8 by 12 inches. And that one pops right into the correct space. So that's our first panel. And going into the second one, again, crop and resize, 8 by 12 inches. And we'll make sure that snapping is on for this one and move that over, snap it to the middle panel. And that one has been cropped as well. And then we'll do the last one. And now in our gallery, we can see our 3 panels here. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found something useful in this and feel inspired to go and make some galaxy artwork of your own. And I will see you next time.